Luca Nation, what a beautiful Sunday. This is like the perfect Sunday. I love when they start the basketball games at 1 p.m., 3 p.m. respectively. So welcome back to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo Mine, the Fractional Report before opening bell.
Brought to you by Collectable. We did it in harmony. But we're not going to be in harmony today. We're going to disagree. There's lots of fun stuff out there. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk basketball. We're going to talk playoffs. We're going to talk about who advanced to the second round. We got comps galore. Last week we had REA. Last night we had Golden Auctions. Tonight, as we're recording, well, a couple hours after we record, PWCC's weekly auction will end. Nice Giannis in that. A lot of fun Giannis stuff. Giannis looks like a bulldozer out there.
So you work in corporate America, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately. You know how
I'm trying to build my life resume. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to build my life resume.
There's hierarchies, right? So like you start out analyst, associate, VP, president, managing.
Yep.
And you've been in meetings before, right? Meetings are kind of awkward.
Quite a few.
People talk for a little while. But anyway, when a bigwig comes into the room, you feel a different energy to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I try not to. When I come in a room, I realize people feel that energy. But
your boss comes in, you get quiet.
I'm the boss.
You let him do his thing, and then his boss comes in, he gets quiet.
I do know what you mean. When you step into this recording studio, I feel that bigwig energy. I'm like, oh my God, there's a bigwig here. Look at him.
I think what we saw today from the Bucks is
I think you're
levels
right.
to games.
Yep.
There's levels. So Tatum, when he's playing against an older Durant, all right, I got you, big dog.
You went there.
I'm the alpha in the court.
You're an
I'm
ageist here. Oof.
But now Tatum's on the court with an even bigger alpha, and that's Giannis. And I think this is a statement series for him and his cards. Thanks for you're like Skip Bayless. You always interrupt me.
Dude,
you go.
I like it. You made a great point. And I think I made the same point via cartoon on my Instagram page. People were all over, whoever it was. Ja is still around, right? They were all over Ja, and all of a sudden it's Tatum. Tatum's the greatest player on earth. And then it's, don't let the bandwagon even stop in Boston because it's going to move over to Milwaukee next. This is fandom. But it's what makes stuff fun. And what you're saying about there being levels to the game, it's a really great analysis, and it's actually a good introduction for the fractional episode because we've been talking all week about flight to quality. We've been talking about all week about different types of assets. And, if you look at what Card Ladder puts out there, some great data, a lot of great data tools out there. Even you check out like Chris Hodge's story recently. He talks about the mantle indexes, talks about this baseball vintage and how there are ups and downs and swings, but that baseball vintage kind of, continues to do what it's doing. It just chugs along. Bandwagons are the ones that have this up and down and up and down, and you got to be on the right one at the right time. And if you're in the more solid assets, which is what we find usually on a platform like Collectable in the fractional world, you don't have to worry about those ups and downs and craziness and stuff like that. So I think it's a great thing because, last week there's money spent on Tatum. Last night there was a $500,000 Ja sale, basically. Did you see that? Did you see it was the National Treasures RPA? I mean, it went for nearly $500,000, I think, right? 4 and change. And
I saw the one that stuck out was LaMelo Gold in a BGS 9.5 that almost sold for 200. And it's interesting, right? Like, do you ever compare across like kind of asset classes? Like,
of course,
200,000, like not necessarily like what memorabilia I could buy for like my house to hang on for $200,000. You ever go that direction or like game used Babe Ruth ball?
Yeah,
we haven't talked about that for a while.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and it's a smart thing, but you got to counter that with, people think LaMelo might turn into something. And, I had a conversation today while I was playing basketball with my son in the lead up to this because I was wondering about Giannis. You and I have had an ongoing conversation about Giannis and Ja and Steph Curry and those guys. And I couch it in a way that an 8-year-old can give me viable information. Now, you tell me what you would do with this. I asked him, who are the guys? Now, he is in 3rd grade. His school goes to 6th grade. And I said, who do you and your friends like in the NBA? What kind of jerseys are you seeing out there? Where are kids making their parents spend their money? right? And of course he said Nets jerseys because we're local, right? It's, we're in New York, so there's Nets jerseys. But beyond that, I took that out of the equation because there's obviously a local bias there. He said people wear Giannis jerseys. He says he says it was a little bit of a surprise to me, right? He said Ja, he said LaMelo. He said the kids love LaMelo, kids love Ja, but I was a little surprised that the young kids were wearing Giannis stuff. And it kind of had me thinking about Giannis a little bit differently, right? Because maybe he doesn't get the respect that he deserves right now from the people in my age group, but he obviously is, the kids realize that he's a stud. The kids like him. The kids like the Greek freak and they're buying his jersey and that kind of stuff, which, what we've learned in his last cycle is, pay attention to who's going to be the one having the money next. You know what I mean? The kids who grew up playing Pokemon all of a sudden turn Pokemon into a multi-million-dollar card collecting set, So, it was interesting to hear that. But back to your point, LaMelo. I said Anthony Edwards. He goes, no. I mean, he's great. I like Anthony Edwards, but no one wears his jersey. No one really likes him. But LaMelo, 100%. LaMelo was number 2 or 3
is there
on the list.
opportunity in that, right? Because Cage, you and I mean, if you kind of summarize our back and forth, is I think I know the card market way less, but I understand fundamentals or scouting of players.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have extreme expertise in card markets, but can you make money being contrarian and not even contrarian, saying, okay, everyone's hyping up LaMelo, but I see something here with Edwards. Everyone's hyping up Ja, who's already up 400 or 500% this year. But wait a second, this guy's fundamentally better. I know it's slow and steady. Everyone likes the shiny new thing. They like the the Instagram highlight reel. We're already talking about how Ja had the best dunk of the playoffs. But is there opportunity in that, right? Because card investing is a slow game, is actually what I'm learning.
Well, 100% right. I'm glad you ended that question. It was like a Cage question with that, right?
The people like me, right? So we do a lot of content. We get, a lot of people love what we do. A lot of people hate what we do, which is actually kind of the best, right? That's where you want to be. But they also need to understand, the cause, not the symptom. What I mean is we got into the hobby in 2019, 20, end of 2020. Well, we were taught bad habits because we could make money like that. So we started looking for money like that. And what I'm noticing is the best investors in this game are the ones that look left when everyone else is looking right and have conviction. They buy into their stuff and then they hold.
So here comes the hate. It takes a while, just like it takes a while to develop a palate, right? Just like it takes a while to learn, what's a good wine and what it tastes like and the whole 9 yards. It takes a little while to develop what the card letter guys would say, a collector. Because like you're saying, a lot of these folks who came into the hobby, yourself included, did not come in as a collector. You came in as an opportunist, right? And 1,000%. A lot of times so why I'm going to get the hate mail here is I was an opportunist at one point in time. I 100% was. And I had to grow out of being an opportunist in the hobby, right? And become a collector. And lucky for me, it was something that I learned young. It was something I learned at the age of 13. At the age of 13, I was, collecting cards in 1989. And I watched the 1989 National League Championship Series, right? Where a rookie from 1989 who has an awesome upper deck card, 1989 upper deck, right? I watched in the championship series, this kid bat 364, 8 hits, right? But his team lost, right? Didn't go on to win. And I'm like, this kid is great. He is amazing, right? This is just amazing, right? He actually got, in his rookie year, votes for most valuable player to go along with the rookie of the year. He finished 13th in MVP voting. And I'm like, geez, this guy just had a great playoff series, you name it. I'm not talking about Ken Griffey Jr. I'm talking about Jerome Walton. And anybody who collected in the 80s knows who I'm talking about, because in the end of 89, after the playoffs happened in October there, I traded all of my Ken Griffey Jr. 89 Upper Deck cards for kids who had Jerome Walton cards, because I thought there was an opportunity there. I'm like, well, Walton's clearly going to be better than Ken Griffey Jr. Look what he just did. The dude, graduated, went from high school, you name it, the whole 9 yards. He drafted by the Cubs, And, he went on and won the Rookie of the Year. It was National League. Griffey didn't win. He injured himself. I think he had a wrist injury. I think, he didn't win the American League one. Anyway, but, Jerome Walton went on to play 3 more seasons with the Cubs, batting, I think he played 254 total games and batted, basically as high as 263 in 90 and as low as 127 in 1992. He jumped around and never turned into anything. But obviously, we all know what Ken Griffey Jr. became. So, like I say, I learned that lesson early. Sometimes you miss the real deal. You miss the forest for the trees. And, if you were to just hang on to something over time instead of trying to flip in, what's amazing? It's not just with cards, right? You learned it with NFTs. You know what I mean? If we would have just hang on to something, and it's stocks too. I mean, I could tell you how many stocks I bought where, if I would have just, instead of trying to be too cute and flip this stock into that stock, if I would have just held that blue chip thing over time. The difference here is that over the last couple of years in cards, holding those blue chips was not the right call because there was so much crazy jumps in some of the more modern stuff, right? If you happen to get into the funky prism stuff, you could see 20x on some of these cards, right? If you were at the right guy with the right card, you name it. Now, some of those,
and it was also about reinvesting, right? Like if you could.
Yep. Well, I mean, think about it, right? I would love the card ladder guys or whoever to put a side-by-side chart of like, if you would have invested, $10,000 in a Mickey Mantle rookie, a fractional shares of it or whatever it is back in 2018, or that same amount of money invested in Luka rookie PSA 10s when they were $65 or $80, right? Because what you'd see is the Luka chart go, 20x? You know what I mean? Go from $65 to $2,000, right? What does that work out to? 25x? But now I don't know what it's down to, but it's now in here $2,000 for his base prism, right? A couple $100, $300, $400. What does it even go for now, right? So you'd see it went up like crazy and has come back down. I think if you watch that Mantle chart, you'd see that it caught up to Luka. It has a very different one of these kind of things, but it's boring, right? Now, I'm not saying that's the only thing to put your money in. But what I'm saying is that when you're trying to do this, if you're going to be here for a longer term, which is I think where you're going, right? If you have a little bit wider, term, you can still gamble. You can still have riskier things that may pay off and maybe that 10 or 20x, but counter it with some of your portfolio in some of the items that we're going to be able to talk about today on Collectable, some of these higher end pieces, right?
And the thing is, guys, Collectable, the marketplace, it's new. I mean, this whole fractional world is very new, so it's not going to be the most liquid right off the bat.
Right.
10 years from now, I think we're singing a different tune, but off the bat, it's not going to be the most liquid.
And you may want to go into it with the understanding that these are assets that you're not looking to exit next week. Correct. Right? That LaMelo might be one where somebody's buying it with what they consider a long-term window of next season. When LaMelo makes another playoff run, that's long term.
And don't get it twisted. I do believe the big money does flip. I don't think the people that are like spending $200K on Melo, I'm not sure they're holding that gold for very long.
I think you're right.
Ja gold. So I think they might even flip it with Ja if he wins this series for this example. So I'll get into the data for you guys. Pretty flat across
By the way,
board.
Great conversation topic. Love that. Love where you went with that. It's a great opener for this because it really is sort of like an eye opener, right? And no one's telling you guys to be boring like Cage. No one wants you to have a Christmas tree as ugly as mine, right? And I should probably layer in a couple of lines of, like silver, like some tinsel, some chrome, something in there in my Christmas tree.
But I think you're pretty moderate. I don't think you're super like
I
don't think you're.
That.
I think you cut down the middle.
All right, cool. I'll take it. We're supposed to be arguing today, though. So what are you doing?
Tennis. The only really notable kind of indexes. Tennis was up 15%. Boxing was down 4%. The top 3 gainers, very kind of all over the map. Chris Bosh. I don't know where that came from. 0607 Air Force 25s Game Worn sneakers signed. Up 58%. Again, not the most liquid market. That could be one guy who's just like, I love this. I want to take a big position. Michael Jordan, 94 game used and signed bat, up 45%. And the National Treasures basketball collection, the sealed wax, 2017, 18, and 19 was up 28%. Talk to me, Cage, before we get into the decliners. PSA grading bats What does that mean for this world? This is a relatively new development that if you guys are listening to our show, you might be getting some alpha here because you don't even realize that PSA is even grading bats.
Yep.
Talk to me. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the next progression, right? I mean, if memorabilia is going to be the next thing they go into, they're grading bats. There are a lot of game used bats out there, and there's no real uniformity. What I think is cool about cards, especially vintage cards, is not every Mantle rookie, not every Jackie Robinson rookie is the same. And now with the ability to kind of match things up, have experts in it who can say this bat is from the 1955 World Series, or this bat is from the 1949 All-Star Game, or whatever it may be, right? They're able to lend the expertise to that to kind of give some provenance to the bat to try to make not all gamers are the same. And you're looking for scarcity and you're looking for something with a connection to the sport. Things like someone's game-worn glove or, a game-used ball. Helmets might be, cool for football, that kind of stuff. So I like it. And there is a bat, by the way, on Collectable, which is pretty cool. And just let me take 37 seconds just because I love to give, value. You're the one who always gives value in these episodes, but I like to also story tell, right? Do you know who Sadaharu Oh is?
No clue, but I saw his name.
Yeah, so there is a bat on here, and Ichiro
pull it up for you, Cage.
Ichiro made it cooler because there was a conversation of what he did in Japan, and obviously it's a Japanese baseball league, and it's not the same as the American, the major leagues. But obviously Ichiro was great there. He came over here, he was still great, but his hits didn't count because if his hits in Japan counted, then he would have had more total hits than Pete Rose, and he'd be the all-time hit leader. Well, if Sadaharu Oh, if his Japanese stats counted, and one day maybe people will say stats are stats, Sadaharu Oh hit 868 home runs in his professional career. That's right, 868. That's more than even Barry Bonds on steroids. Just a crazy amount of home runs. He's kind of like the Japanese Babe Ruth. Left-hander, which is pretty crazy, played first base, and just a crazy, power hitter. And why they say kind of Babe Ruth is he originally signed with the Giants, the Japanese team, I think Yomiuri Giants, as a pitcher, and then they converted him to a full-time hitter, which is, it's pretty nuts, right? You talk about like Ohtani and that kind of stuff. This guy, he's a folk hero. He's a name, right? I'm pretty sure with him...
The bat on Collectable is a PSA Auto 10,
yep.
And it's up 75% over the last month.
So it's just one of those things to take a look at. Obviously, when it moves that much, you kind of want to know, why. He hit 55 home runs in one season, 868 over the course of his career. When he played first base, his team, the Giants, won 11 Japan Series championships. This is a legit player.
It's a man among his boys.
I think he won MVP of the league 9 times. So anyway, as the world gets smaller and, America...
Is he revered, though, in China? In Japan, I apologize.
100%.
Yeah?
Cool thing, man, because he played his whole career for that one team and then was their manager for 5 seasons.
League MVP.
Yeah, 9 times. Yep. Yeah, he then managed other teams in the league from like 95 to 2008. He managed the Japanese national team in the World Baseball Classic. Won the championship there. Just really, revered player, professionally managing, and all that fun stuff, right? So, I'll tell you, they should make a movie about him, and I'm surprised they haven't already. And if there is, guys, message me. But what's funny is he had his record of 55 home runs has since been broken, right? But it's funny, there were a couple of foreign-born players who played in the Japanese league and were challenging his home run record, and they faced teams that he managed, and his pitchers didn't throw any strikes to them, so that they couldn't break his record. Like, it's just like fun little stuff like that. Like, so anyway, yes, it's cool stuff. Tuffy Rhodes was an American player. Carl Rhodes, he called Tuffy. He also had 55 home runs, and they didn't pitch him. They didn't pitch him any any pitches so that he can hit it. Alex Cabrera from Venezuela had 55 All-Star. I mean, it's just funny. This is something that I watched because he was a big name when I was a kid. I remember the end of his. I remember him managing, right? So he played in the '60s.
Memory lane into the
anyway,
1930s.
But it's you were at bats, so I wanted to make sure this is a bat that's on Collectable and it's up significantly.
Did you grow up in the '60s or '70s?
No,
were you the disco era?
I grew up in the '80s. I was born in the disco era.
You were the disco. Okay,
yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
But he played while I was alive, but he was managing when I was actually a coach.
Let's stay on the topic of baseball, shall we?
Sure.
I'll pitch you one right down the middle. You said this guy he never pitched strikes. I'll pitch you strikes.
Let's get a strike.
On the top 3 decliners, number 1 is Jasson Dominguez, 20 Bowman Chrome Orange Refracted BGS 9.5, down 25%.
Yep.
People think it's performance driven, hitting 225 with 1 home run.
I mean, listen, it's right. I mean, there are guys who, look, he's very young. People don't even realize how young he is, because his rookie card, the first Bowman, is in the same set as Bobby Witt, and Witt is up, hitting the ball. He's up playing. He made the team. He made the major league roster, and he's playing.
And Dominguez is just going to high school, from what I understand.
Yeah, basically that is where he would be. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's playing ball. He's playing ball professionally, right? So, and he was supposed to be a guy who could, very shortly play major league ball. He'd rocket through the ranks. And to be struggling in A ball the way that he's struggling in April, 16 games, only hitting 1 home run and 225, it's not unheard of. You have to get used to not just pitching, but you also have to get used to that kind of life. He's a kid. So, but people, we've talked about this. People expect immediate results and continuing progress. So for his cards to continue to increase in value from the already significantly high price they're at, he would have to be mashing an A, get an immediate promotion to Double-A, mash there, and talk of him moving to Triple-A, and hey, maybe Dominguez can come up sooner than people thought. Anything shy of that, the card would either stay flat or go down. Now what you're seeing is his numbers don't look so good. Also, you had a bump there, right? So you had, they also went up. See what I mean? So if you look at the chart,
let's see how it's doing since IPO. So IPO'd at 36, currently at 25. So back to the initial topic that we had.
Yep.
If you have conviction, if you are a believer in this guy, use these sell-off opportunities in a not-so-liquid marketplace. This is where you can go long, go really long, right? If you have a 5-10 year outlook, look for opportunities like this where a young guy who some people got suckered into prospecting, who was always going to be a long-term play, use their exit as your entry, and now you're buying at the bottom versus.
And let's go straight from that to Michael Porter Jr. Because it's a perfect example of exactly that. And you can tell me if it's not. Because here's the thing. People say I jump on folks, right? If you follow my Instagram, I've been all over John Morant. Kid had a great game today. They lost, but he had a great game. He is an elite athlete, and if he develops any type of outside jump shot, teams won't just dare him to take it. And he could be really great. Right now, he's not, and I expect him to get swept. Yes, I said it out loud. I say it again. I will stand by my prediction. I expect the Grizzlies to get swept. That said, it should come as no surprise. There were some holdouts on Michael Porter Jr. Maybe people thought up to like last week, maybe he was going to make a Willis Reed type walk down the tunnel, down the ramp, and show up and help Joker, in the playoffs. But the Nuggets exited the playoffs this week, and several people exited their Michael Porter Jr. position. And if you pull this one up, you'll see it's down almost 25%. Michael Porter Jr. played 9 games this season, right? Why I didn't love him was because it's a back, and the back flared up again. And who knows if he's ever going to be able to play again? Who's ever going to jump? But this is a card. It's one we should definitely talk about. It's one we should spend some more time. Maybe a special episode about buyouts. Come down the pike. But this is one that there was a buyout offer on that the holders did not accept. And the buyout offer, I don't know if you're trying to share or you're not sharing, or I don't see it. Sometimes I can't. So, but this, go ahead.
No, finish your statement.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in on this guy.
Yeah, this particular item is down 24.6% week over week. Now, what Andrew was saying is, if you have any kind of conviction, what you want to do is when everybody else is jumping off, the boat, you might be able to jump on somebody. And this is one where I'll go away from my fundamentals. Right, this is not one I'm telling you to buy because you expect to hold it for 10 years. Although maybe he comes back and maybe he's great in 10 years. This is a championship ticket auto 1 of 1 that is selling for a huge discount to what it would be selling for if he even played. And I have a feeling what you're going to see, not this week, not this month, but in a few months, there'll be a draft. Joker will be back. Jamal Murray will be healthy. And you start to see some videos of Nuggets practice and Michael Porter Jr. out there dunking the ball and looking healthy. And, the beat writers will start writing stories about how this is the team to beat this year because they got the 2-time returning MVP and a healthy Michael Porter Jr. Look out for these guys. And it'll start to get some buzz. And you'd be buying this now when no one's looking at it and everybody's jumping ship. So, shoot.
Okay. Back to corporate America.
Yeah.
Right? I'm out of college, I make $70,000 a year, $50,000, $100,000. And my incentive is to work hard for 2, 3, 5 years. And, maybe I go from 70 to 200, 200 to 5. And maybe, if it's I jump ship to another business or I become, executive level. But a lot of the incentives that we have in life are monetary, right? Mm-hmm. There's other incentives, you like what you do, you're passionate about the job, you like the people you work with. But one of them is, dude, I'm trying to make money, right? I'm trying to move up. And I know that if the company does well and I do well, I make money, right? Compensation.
Yep.
What's happening in today's NBA? Quick pop quiz. Do you know how much Charles Barkley made at the peak of his career?
As a player?
As a player.
Yeah, I mean,
just
I'm sure. Per year, I would say he made $4 million.
Yeah. So amazing. $4 million. $4 million.
Cage is good. Put me on Jeopardy.
It's really $5 million, but it's the same principle.
It's close.
So Michael Porter Jr. just signed a 5-year rookie scale max extension with the Nuggets worth $145 million guaranteed up to 172, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you have these guys, Ben Simmons. I'm not going to look up his contract because it makes me sick. You have these guys who are getting paid just insane amounts of money without accomplishing anything.
That's right.
And I don't know if you know this or you've seen this, and I know that there's psychological stuff to this. It's incredibly demotivating, believe it or not. So, yeah, his card prices and all that, I agree. But I don't want to be invested in these guys who don't actually have incentive to come back out and perform because they already got their back.
I mean, listen, I get it. So here's my take on it. And if you can pull it up, that would be great just so we can see how far it has fallen. If not, no big deal. But
all right. I'm going to go a little cynical on this too, and then I'll pass it to you.
You can.
When I pulled this card up, so you notice that this is the paper version, right?
Paper version?
This isn't the optic. There's contenders and contenders optic.
Yes.
These were the cards that those guys were trimming.
Contenders, yeah.
Yeah, because they're so thin.
But this is
I look
9,
at the grades. But look at what's wrong with it: the quarter and the edges. So I'll share the screen again. I apologize.
That's okay. No, so as he's doing that, guys, I think really what I'm looking at here, and if you look at just the holdout, you can look on ESPN. There was an article as recently as April 17th with a title that says Denver Nuggets Michael Porter Jr. is holding out hope for return during the series against the Golden State Warriors. He says, right now I'm taking it game by game, and I'm not ruling out anything. Porter told ESPN's Andscape following the Nuggets' 123-101 loss to the Warriors in Game 1 on Saturday night. That's this past series, right? So, obviously, he didn't come back. He didn't play, and because of that, people have now exited. But look at the value on this, right? What's it trading at? What's the market value?
IPO at $30K. It's at 6.7 right now.
I mean, this is a 1-of-1 auto, and it's at $6,000 and change. It's one where previously I talked about it and said this is one that's a candidate for a buyout, and then a buyout offer came. It's the same type of scenario here. If you're somebody who has that sitting there, he claims he was close to a comeback, but not there. Obviously it's third back surgery. It's not, it's not a sure bet, but he said he's getting closer. And, obviously they did put that, that money. He's a 6'10", 218 pound, guard, basically. My co-host compared him to Kevin Durant, which while this week is not the greatest comparison, you compared him to Kevin Durant. And, even if he doesn't live up to that,
when our listeners take my stuff out of context, but when my co-host,
just compare him. That's not out of context. You compared him to Kevin Durant.
His
That's
game.
game.
So
you compared his game to Kevin Durant. Fine. There's no context.
People compare Trey to Curry, but Curry is significantly better and more accomplished than Trey.
Right. Well, like I said, I don't expect him to turn into Kevin Durant because if he did, his card wouldn't be $6,000. Just one of one auto. But that's the point, guys. I think this is one where we might have a little bit of people just exiting for liquidity because the season's over. And if he does come back, this is one where I would potentially look. And we've talked about this a couple weeks in a row. The overreactions usually find their way in the top 3 losers of the week, and this made it into that top 3 losers of the week. It's a steady kind of thing we've talked about over the last few episodes of this. Where do you want to go next, man?
A quick little public service announcement. I want you guys to know that, all the stuff we talk about, it's our own personal opinion. But second, you have to have conviction in the things that you invest in. Okay, when you guys see you get early access on the app or you get IPO opportunities on the app, remember, just because it's on the app doesn't mean it's a good buy. And ask yourself if this money goes to zero, will I be okay? Right? Because we don't want you listening to the show, investing in stuff. It doesn't pan out the way you might have thought over 3, 6, 9 months. And then either you're upset or we're upset. That's not good for anybody. So I want to make a quick public service announcement.
I'm always upset. Oh, definitely upset about that. And look, obviously your public service announcement bleeds into the Patrick Mahomes offering. And, you guys could go read the statements made, on social media by Ezra Levine if you want to see what Collectable's take was on that. We talked about it on a whole episode this week. I don't really want to, rehash too much about it because if you want to hear what our take is on it, you can, you'll hear our episode. And we're also looking to get Ezra Levine on to kind of talk about it. But, what it sounds like is, the market, especially with the early access in app, the market can decide. And if these items are priced too high, as Andrew's saying, people aren't going to bid on them. And
they're not gonna fund, and you're going to return the money. And one of those that caught my eye that gives me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies is the 2021 Trae Young game worn and signed sneakers. Cool, respectable early in his career, but what worries me is a 90% retained. I've talked about that quite a few times on our show, but just something to bring attention to. On the flip side, something I'm really interested in is the 2020 Topps Chrome F1 Sapphire Orange Lewis Hamilton PSA 9. So that one only has 8% retained, 8.8% retained, with a market cap of 56.6. Did you see the Super Refractor sold for $900,000?
Mm-hmm. I did. So, and
I think that's
showing you all that condition on a 1-of-1 really doesn't make a difference. But go ahead.
I thought someone actually wrote this is the most important F1 card ever made, which I thought was just the most ludicrous statement ever made, ever. I don't understand it. It's not his rookie. It's 13 years. It's it reminds me of the LeBron Prism Silver that became popular. Remember? Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? But I do think short term, that does have an effect on this offering. And this is still an early access to top.
So we had in our 10 for 10 series, women who collect in the hobby, we had She Collects on, and we talked about the Futera sale, the 2005 Futera, which is something I mentioned many, that one's over 312 or 300, whatever $1,000 it was. And she had an interesting take on it, which was that the people who collect this stuff just have a ton of money. And that the average F1 fan and the average F1 collector are people who have a boatload of cash.
Not going to fool me again. I've heard that thing before. Remember, institutional money's coming in. They don't care.
But I think this is not institutional money. I think that, there are people out there. Look, there are people out there.
No one likes losing money. I'll stop cutting you off.
No, you can. And you're right. Everything you're saying is right. Institutional money is coming in. That has not happened that we've seen. No one likes losing money. You're 100% correct. But I think the only thing that would make sense to me on the Hamilton card, that one of one is There are plenty of people out there buying Tom Brady out of 100 for $1 million plus, the Contenders ticket. There are plenty of people out there who will pay $1 million plus for Mantle PSA 8, right? That's baseball, that's football. There's plenty of people who made a lot of money in this stuff and are F1 fans, right? And I don't want to say that's the most important F1 card ever made, but it is considered a rookie of what many people think is the greatest F1 driver that has ever done it. And it's a rare thing to have that, happen while it's still modern. It's like Brady, right? So to say $900,000, it's just fake. I got to disagree, right? Because what if it's one of these guys who's made a ton of money recently on Brady or LeBron or whatever it is, and they say, all right, there's only one opportunity for this to come up. Keep in mind, add to that, a lot of this hobby is made on getting the tape measure out, and mine's bigger than yours. Sorry, guys, this is a professional episode, but you understand what I'm saying.
That happens in wine. That happens in watches. That happens.
Only one person can say that they paid $4 million for the Mike Trout. Only one person can say that they bought the Giannis 1/1 Lior, and they're a big name, and everybody knows who owns it, right? Only one person can buy the Mahomes 1/1. Only one person can have ultimately.
Mahomes has a lot of 1/1s.
Only one person ultimately will own the triple logo man of LeBron that comes out of Flawless. Maybe it'll be Drake, maybe it won't. But this is now in the F1 world. Whoever the big swinger is there, the one with the big energy. I said big, folks. I said big. I'm being clean. They have no problem spending $900,000 and say, I'm the one. I'm the Lewis Hamilton super collector. There are plenty of them. Shoot.
Outlier sale. Agreed. If we're going, I'm thinking a lot recently about collector base, right? Like Michael Jordan has a tight-knit collector base. LeBron has a tight-knit collector base. Lewis Hamilton. Do people care about him really? Like, other than the superficial stats?
Yes, people do.
Is there the emotional?
Dude, if you look up,
that's my guy.
Top 10 F1 drivers of all time.
That's superficial. Right? I know his statistics are incredible. Roger Federer is another guy who's, if you look up, top 10,
but Hamilton's like a clear-cut 1, 2. I mean, it's like investing in Brady right now.
But there's no one that's like, there's not like these passionate internet arguments and discussions about Federer or Nadal.
No, I think there are, and more importantly, I think that people think there's going to be more growth in that sport. So you're able to get that Michael Jordan card. Now, I mean, you know what I'll compare it to? Right? I think what people in their minds, the F1 collectors who think this is going to turn into something big, I can only imagine what a Jordan PMG green would do in an open auction now. How many millions it would sell for.
Would you do it internet or in person?
I mean, I remember when PWCC sold one a few years ago, before there was a hobby boom. Like, when I was still in it and I didn't have anyone to talk to about it, right? Thank you for giving me the thousands of people we get to talk to about it, right? But they tried to sell it on eBay and they had to cancel the auction a bunch of times because within 30 seconds, it was $1 million. You know what I mean? And while it ended, I think, for several $100,000, and they eventually did it. That was part of the whole private bidding and like not shilling and pre-qualifying on eBay. PWCC was doing it. That's before the 10x, 20x, 50x that has gone on. That was when the Jordan rookie was, a $15,000 card, not $250,000. I can only imagine what the PMG has done. So it's the same kind of thing, man. We've talked about this, right? There are different tables in the poker game, right? And there's a champion table, right? There's a dais at your bar mitzvah, right? And only the special people got invited to that dais to light candles for little Andy Goldberg. And I want to be at the dais.
My mom scheduled my bar mitzvah on Christmas Eve on my birthday.
I mean, typical. What were you supposed to be doing? Eating Chinese food and watching movies? Why not have a bar mitzvah? So anyway, the point being, the owner of this is now sitting at table 1, and that means a lot to people.
All right, last two, and before I go into last two, any thoughts? Anything you want to draw attention to?
100%.
Okay, go
100%. Now, what do you think about the difference between PSA 9 and BGS 9?
Depends on the card for sure.
So we have told you folks about this card a few weeks in a row now, and I have a comp, but it is the most recent sale is a BGS 9, and the card on on
What's the card?
Collectable it's the Messi Mega Cracks. There's a PSA 9 on Collectable.
It
And
matters.
Golden, it definitely matters in that, right? So Golden Auctions had a BGS 9 sell last night. And this card is already coming down from where it was, right? And we talked about some PSA 9 sales that were selling significantly less than what it's at Collectible. On Collectible, this closed this past week at $58,480. The BGS 9, you want to take a guess what it sold for? Again, the PSA 9 on Collectible selling for $58,480.
BGS 9 is around 13 to 15.
$12,000. Yep, $12,000.
But I went over when you go over.
I know you. Yeah, I mean, but still, you were close. But if a BGS 9 is $12,000, yes. But the PSA 9, which is not exactly the rarest thing in the world, more are coming out. It's not a $60,000 card, is what I'm saying. I'm saying be careful on that one, right? Because if you can get a BGS 9 for $12,000, you buy 5 BGS 9s for the price of one PSA on Collectible. So it's one to be mindful of. Another one.
There are basically cards that are going to fall in this category. I don't want to be a snob, but are like PSA 10 or nothing in this market.
Mm-hmm.
The Jordan is one of those I've learned is kind of a PSA.
Do you think so?
The Fleer?
The Jordan is one of them. The Fleer, you think the Jordan is one?
It depends what you're in this for. I want to caveat it. It depends what you're in this for.
So let's look at a comp on that, right? Collectible has Michael Jordan basket of 2 BGS Gem Mint 9.5s. And the basket is actually down this week 5 and change percent to 116.9, $58,477.50 per card. So again, just above like 58.5 basically per card. One sold in Golden last night. You want to take a guess what it sold for? BGS 9?
BGS 9 or BGS 9.5?
BGS 9.5, excuse me. My bad.
And the basket is sitting at 117, which is basically right around
58.5. 58.5 per.
What's the one at Golden?
And by the way, the one in Golden has a 9 for surface.
46.
75.
Wow.
Okay, 75. Now, keep in mind, it had 10 centering, 10 corners, 9.5 edges, but it had a 9 surface. Averages out to 9.5. It had a couple 10s, which you don't see all the time, but still, it did have a 9 as one of the subs.
If someone has balls, they might crack that.
So, not $75,000 sale, when on Collectible, there are 2 sitting at a 58.5 comp price. So, that card has taken a little bit of a dive. Like I said, it was down 6% this week. If you're looking at recent comps, I don't want to just give you comps that are lower. This is a comp from Golden, just one item. These cards are very condition specific. This one does have 2 10s. It does have a 9, but it does have 2 10s. Now you have a $75,000 sale, and the ones that are sitting at on
Golden had a 10 centering?
10 centering, yep. 10
People
centering.
like that. People like a nicely centered Jordan.
They definitely do. How about your call on sealed wax? One of the top 3 up this week was that National Treasures one you talked about last week. Remember that? The National Treasures lot of 3? That was up 26.
It just
good.
Sometimes you have theories and sometimes you have conviction. Like sometimes you're like, I don't know if what it's gonna do, but like it kind of feels. And other times you're like, I have strong belief.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I believe in wax so much is I keep going into meetings and people kind of are getting annoyed. They're like, stop calling it the QVC era. But like we're entering the QVC era where social selling, where you're selling through camera, you're selling through yourself. If you guys grew up in the 90s, I bring up Emeril Lagasse, Bam. Like he created his whole business persona with reality TV plus selling through the camera.
Yep.
You need something that captures people's attention. And there's nothing in the hobby that captures attention like a high-end box break.
So right on that, we can stick with Andrew's boxes. Not that it's a comp. And you want to go from there. The 86 Fleer basketball, an open wax box on Collectible at 187.4. Golden had one sell last night.
Why are you the way you are?
What? Your boxes. $192,000 is the sale in Golden. Slightly higher than the 187.4 that's on Collectable right now. We bring that up because look, when a comp happens, when a sale happens, you want to know how it compares to what's going on the trading there. The trading is pretty darn accurate, right? It's slightly lower. We're talking about 4% or so lower than what the most recent comp was. Another one that's relevant just for folks to know, and keep in mind, again, these are very specific to the patch and the whole deal, is LeBron did not end his season the way that he would have wanted to. And there is a LeBron exquisite trading on Collectable. We all know this card, the exquisite RPA out of 99. The one on Collectable is a BGS 9 with a 10 auto, currently trading at $1,040. $1,040,000. So 1,040,000. Just slightly over $1 million, 40,000 more than $1 million. We noted recently that a BGS 9 in Golden earlier this month, so the last Golden auctions had a BGS 9 that sold for $1,092,000. So right on par. We said, all right, well, you'd rather have a 9, right? You have a 9 that's at 1,092. This yesterday, Golden had a BGS 9 that sold at $1,062,000. So you're kind of sitting where you see where they're going. This one, I think, had a worse patch than the last one did. It sold for about $30,000 less. But now you have two comps of LeBron within the same month, basically, at just over $1 million. It's exactly where the Collectable is sitting, but the Collectable item is an 8.5, and the two sales were 9s. So, condition does matter on these. The 8s sell for a different price than the 8.5s. The 9s sell for a different price. You name it. So it's just another comp I want folks to know about, right?
This is going to be his iconic card. This is his iconic card.
Of course.
Out of 99, there's a few damaged. There's the Hawaiian Provenance. This is going to be his iconic card. And 20-year horizon, this is a fun one I'm curious to look back on. If you just put in like $100 every month, let's say.
I guess where I'm saying is be careful potentially investing in it now, because you have two recent sales of BGS 9s with 10 autos at basically the same price that the Collectibles 8.5 is at. So that's the only noteworthy piece that I'm trying to bring.
Do you really see this card going below $1 million?
I do.
You do?
Yes. Okay. Because if a 9 is $1 million with buyer's premium and all that fun stuff, it means the seller is probably actually getting less than $1 million for a 9.
I would say like a 7 would go for, 700,000.
But an 8.5 should go. I mean, listen, you're right. Maybe people do not care.
I think people care about patch in this more than the grade.
And you might be right. And it is worth noting, like I said, that the patch on this particular one, while it's two colors, these things have an R. There's a sliver of color just in the top corner that makes it two colors. It's basically a white napkin type of patch. So nothing crazy there. There was a nice.
You're going to remember Carvin as the Picasso of basically the modern card era.
You can remember him as Picasso. It's fine with me. I'm not remembering it as Picasso. Anyway, the Magic.
He's always been nice to you, Cage.
He's the best. But I don't remember as Picasso. He's more than that. It's not really just an artist, right? He's got he had to do
more than that.
He had to do. I mean, he had to
do
wrangle.
Justice calling him Picasso.
Yeah, he had to wrangle the horses. You know what I mean? He had to get game used memorabilia, which that's sort of like finding a needle in a haystack these days for card companies now, isn't it? Right? I mean, everybody can go find paint. Picasso, go over there and here's some paint. Go do what you want to do. Here's a brush. Here's some paint. Go do your thing. Finding the medium.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Yeah, Wingardium Leviosa. So just another comp real quick. The Bird Irving Magic card from 80-81. The Collectable one is down 5% this week at $28,000, $28,300. There was a sale in Golden at $21,720. A nice copy at PSA 9. So a direct comp there. We've been talking about that card, the price has kind of been coming down. I remember that was $70,000 at its high, you know what I mean? So, that's one that's kind of, moving with stuff. And I guess just last one to note, and again, guys, this is another one that's really condition sensitive, right? On Collectable, there is a Jackie Robinson 48 leaf PSA 3.5, but it has great eye appeal. It's currently trading at 36,860. We don't know how much the eye appeal is worth. That is the only thing that I'll say. If you look at the golden auction last night, a PSA 4. So remember, 3.5 on Collectable at 36.8 with great eye appeal. Do you want to take a guess what the 4 sold at? It was not the greatest 4, a little dirty looking 4 actually. You want to take a guess what the 4 sold
What's
for?
the card again?
The 48 leaf Jackie Robinson, the yellow one. You know where he's got the Brooklyn Dodger hat on.
Jackie is like the talk of the town right now. I mean, everything
This was
Jackie's going through the roof.
That was a Jackie auction for Golden last night. So really, this is a good example of what is the eye appeal worth, right? And so I'll, instead of playing guessing games, the one on Collectable is 30. Basically, let's just call it $37,000, and it's a 3.5. A 4 sold last night. Not a nice 4. Looks like a little scratch across the card, but a 4 sold last night for $16,202. But a 5, which was a very clean 5, sold for $39,600. So if you think the 3.5 with the eye appeal is worth a grade and a half bump, then the value on Collectable is right in line with the 5 that sold last night. If you think it's more like a 4, the 4 sold for significantly less than what the 3.5 is on PWCC. I don't have an answer for you on this because this is one where it's very subjective. And I will tell you this. I don't know about, price being all equal. I think the 3.5 on Collectable looks much better than the 4 and as nice as the 5. But that's just me and everybody for vintage, it's a very subjective thing. You got to look at the card. Centering matters,
Those mid grades are very, very interesting. From 3.5, 4 to 6.
Yep.
They're very interesting.
Yeah. I've seen some Mantle 3s that look better than Mantle 6s. 100%. Because, the centering is really, the people love that eye appeal. Look at that card, right?
Experience matters, people.
It's a nice looking card, right? It's definitely nicer if you were to pull up the Golden 4 right now and put those side by side. It's almost no comparison. So anyway, it's one to kind of just keep in mind.
It's a buyout candidate, guys. If you've listened to our show, we talk about this a lot because we do want to make sure that we're steering you at least in the right direction. We're not going to get you to the destination, but we could try to point you in the right direction. Buyouts, cards that our buyout candidates are doing extremely well on this site. That's something to take a look at with that one, right? It checks all the boxes. Mm-hmm. The Robinson market's going through the roof. They're constantly appreciating. You have a beautiful
Before we close out, right? I love your buyouts and the whole deal. Can we talk about the fringe cards, right? The stuff like wrestling, UFC, those kind of things, and how it applies to Collectable. We've talked about the flight to quality and you name it, right? It's not just the right person. It's also the right card, the right grade, and all that fun stuff. There's one other comp I want to bring up, and I want to get your take on it because you've heard me talk about this a million times, that when push comes to shove, when people want to, rejigger their collection and they want to move it around and they want to, reorganize, they're going to sell those fringes and go to what is a base for them. If they're a basketball guy, they're going to want to consolidate and sell their Nadals to buy their mantles, right? So one more to look at. Take a look at it if you can. The 86 Panini Super Sports stickers, Mike Tyson rookie card. There's a BGS
That's
basket.
not fringe.
So this is why I want to talk to you about it, right? So I love Tyson. I think Tyson's awesome. I think he stayed culturally relevant. But if you pull that card up, and you see the basket, BGS 9 2 times. This was one that I think got really popular really fast. There weren't a lot of people grading these things. It was almost like, wrestling cards and you name it. You see the chart. It's already down from the highs that it was, right? This is a basket of 2, currently trading at $27,629, $13,800 per card, which doesn't sound like a lot of money. It's Mike Tyson's BGS 9. But as people find these, as people grade these, you get more, price discovery. A BGS 9, the same exact card, sold last night on Golden, right? Okay. And I want you to actually, it didn't sell. I don't want to make the same mistake. It's ending tonight, right? So we don't know what the final price is. I want you to pay attention to this, right? Because the ones on Collectable are $13,000 and change. 13 and change. Mm-hmm. This card is currently at $3,100. The same card, BGS 9. Now, it may get some bids. It may go up. You're looking at a 9.5. The one that's ending tonight is a BGS 9, which is exactly the same. 3,100 is only, as we record, is only 2 hours to go. It's one I want you to know about. When you listen to this in the morning, the bidding will have ended. You can check on Golden Auction, see what it ended at, and you'll have a comp. I just wanted guys to make sure that you know that that's out there, because if it ends at 4 or 5 or 7, even double where it's at right now is still only half of what it's trading. It's right now bid at a quarter of of where we stand. What do you got there? Another one, but that's autographed. That's in PWCC. That's a nice one.
Is this his go-to card?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's an Italian UK version. There's all kinds of different things that are that are there. It's just one, guys. I try to find the comps on these things. Golden auctions. I made the mistake last week or 2 weeks ago. His auctions now are going like 3 days. The most of the cards end on day 1 on Saturday night, but his auctions kind of the soccer stuff, the boxing stuff, what I call fringe and Andrew doesn't, usually ends on different days. So I made a mistake with what's his name? Messi. But the Messi card that I talked about today at $12,000, 9, it is over. I checked that. I double checked. I wanted to make sure that Messi, it did end. That ended last night, and it sold at $12,000 to BGS 9. So, I want to make sure I'm giving you guys, completed comps, actual sales, and the like. But yeah, I mean, I love the last couple of weeks.
These tools are free.
Yep.
So as much as we'd like to make sure that we're steering people in the right direction, everyone has to drive their own car to the party. We can't all carpool there, Cage. We can't just pay for the bus, party bus. Everyone's got to drive on their own. Create an account on PWCC, create an account on Golden, create an account on Collectable, look up comps, watch these auctions, do the work, right? You do the work. Yep. You're up until like 1 a.m. You're crazy, dude.
I don't like to sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead.
No,
but yeah,
that's not the case. You like to sleep, but instead of drinking water, you drank caffeinated soda, so your body cannot sleep at 1 a.m. when it wants to sleep.
I want to say you got me, but yeah, you kind of got me. I drink a lot of soda. I drank a bottle while we're doing this episode. I love these episodes, and they've been made very easy for us the last couple of weeks because we had the Robert Edwards auction end. We had 20 comps in that. We have Golden auction end last night. There's comps there. Pay attention to it, guys, because it does give you an indicator of kind of where the market is going on these things. I think Andrew might be onto something with his, with his sealed wax. Because you're able to kind of invest in multiple draft classes, you're able to invest in, in wax that people are kind of, looking for. The 86, Fleer wax box. You see Ken Golden opening those. That's just one less that's out there, right? And so they're not making more of them, but people keep opening them. So it's a dwindling supply. What happens?
You're investing in the cards inside, the potential of the cards inside, and a little bit of a marketing budget on top. Luca Nation. That's another episode. And you stay classy, San Diego?
There you go. Stay classy, San Diego.
So thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo Mai. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month. And many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is, 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com, or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.